यार बाल कैसे रखें कोई नहीं. Okay, so hello everybody, good evening, and today in the series of our this current affairs discussion through the MCQs, fine, we are focusing on revising our this current affairs of the previous years, and we are doing this exercise from the last 1 year almost. And today in the series of our discussion we are going to discuss the April 2023 current affairs in the question answer format. Fine. So let us start with the first question without wasting much time. We are already late, sorry for that. Okay, so let us start with the first question. Firstly, we will go section wise. Let us first take the discuss the economy related questions. So first is related to core inflation. Can you read the question and try to answer it as quickly as possible? Try to answer it within a minute. Fine, because this is what the ideal time we have in the exam. So please quickly read the question and get the correct answer. Okay. Okay, so what should be the correct answer? Anybody? Core inflation is a measure of the total inflation within an economy including commodities such as food and energy prices. Fine. Core inflation typically rises and falls more gradually than inflation in food and fuel. Remember, we have two sets of inflation. First is called headline inflation or CPI inflation. Fine. So in CPI we have, this or headline inflation, overall inflation that we measure in the economy with a certain set of basket of goods, and when we subtract this let us say we are here focusing about core inflation. So core inflation is basically headline inflation, that is overall inflation in the economy, minus this volatile factor, that is food and fuel, that inflation in food and fuel. These are the volatile this products in nature, of course, food and fuel, because food might be due to a seasonal reason, there might be a spike in the price of foods. At the same time, even fuel prices keeps on changing. Fine. So that's why core inflation is inflation, headline inflation or the CPI inflation minus food and fuel. Fine. The inflation in food and fuel, that is volatile these products or variables. So that's how we get the so the question is including commodities such as food and energy prices. No, these are not included, but these are excluded. So that's why this statement is wrong, because this should have been excluded. Fine. Then this is how we get the core inflation after excluding food and energy prices. Fine. So the question has asked incorrect. So that's why, since it should have been excluded, so that's the reason that first statement is incorrect. It means only one is incorrect. Second is core inflation typically rises and falls more gradually than inflation in food and fuel. Yes, it's true. Then core inflation typically, you see, due to this inflation, especially in the food and fuel, it prolongs, means it goes for a longer time. Then core inflation typically rises and falls more gradually than inflation. Of course, core inflation, excluding these two factors, rises and falls more gradually than the inflation in those two things, that is food and energy or food and fuel. Fine. So incorrect here is of course A only, because it should have been excluded. Okay, so one is correct answer here. Let us move to the next question, and the second question is related to eKuber portal. Okay, eKuber. So eKuber is the core banking solution of the RBI. Kindly read the statements and then try to figure out the correct answer. eKuber. eKuber is the core banking solution of the RBI that gives high degree of access to commercial banks to their current account with the RBI, and sovereign gold bonds are available for subscription at the branches of scheduled commercial banks through eKuber system. Which one is correct? Remember, eKuber of course provides the provision for single current account for each bank across the country with decentralized access to this account from anywhere or anytime using portal based services. Fine. So that's why and indeed it is a core banking solution for of RBI. Auction of government security is done through eKuber system. Fine. And that's why the sovereign gold bonds are available for subscription at the branches of scheduled commercial banks through eKuber system, because G-Secs or such kind of bonds, especially sovereign gold bonds, being auctioned through such this platform or system. So this makes both the statements correct. So that's why for the second question, the correct answer is C. That is, both of them are correct. Which of the following is non-tariff measures? So one thing is tariff measures, the other is non-tariff measures, especially related to goods and services, exports and imports that we impose. Generally, you come across that, like for example, Indian government has raised import tariff. Fine. So and similarly, we have other set of non-tariff measures. So the question is, which of the following is a non-tariff measure? Remember, non-tariff measures are directly defined as a policy measures other than ordinary, let us say, custom tariffs that can potentially have any economic effect on international trade in goods and services. Fine. And this non-tariff measures, remember, covers a broad range of policies including traditional trade policy instruments such as quotas or price controls. Fine. So first is technical barriers to trade. Even these include NTBs or or technical barriers to trade. In this NTMs or non-tariff measures actually includes such kind of measures. For example, technical barriers to trade, import licensing procedures as well, and barriers to trade as well. This is phytosanitary restrictions. Phytosanitary restriction, one of the examples that Germany probably returned an Indian ship which actually was shipping, let us say, Indian mangoes to Germany, and Germany rejected our mangoes because of the phytosanitary issues, because they said that you used chemicals for ripening the mangoes, and that's why Germans don't like chemicals. Fine, whether they don't like or not, but in terms of trade they don't like especially. Fine. So so that's why all of the three are the non-tariff measures. Remember, these are different from the tariff measures. Tariffs like quotas and all. Fine. Like custom tariffs. Customs, basically when you impose tariffs on the let us say ports, especially custom means on imports and exports. Fine. Okay. So all of them are correct here. D. Next question. Consider the following. A product is said to be dumped when the product has been exported. Okay, this is related to dumping. Kindly read the question and try to figure out the correct answer. CBIC, that is Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, imposes anti-dumping duties in India. Okay. Third statement is anti-dumping duty is imposed based on the recommendations of Union Finance Ministry's investigation arm, that is Directorate General of Trade Remedies. Okay. So this statement is saying that anti-dumping duty in India is imposed. Dumping is basically when let us say China is selling the some product in India at below the rate at which actually it is selling it in its own domestic nation. Fine. So selling some product at a price below normal value in another market. Fine. This is called dumping. You are dumping the product at a cheaper cost, this prices or sell price. Fine. In comparison to your own domestic prices. And for this dumping, for countering this dumping, countries impose anti-dumping duties. Fine. So this is saying that this is imposed based on the recommendations of Union Finance Ministry's investigation arm, that is DGTR, that is Directorate General of Trade Remedies. So remember, CBIC indeed imposes anti-dumping duties in India, and the duties are imposed following recommendations of Commerce Ministry's investigation arm. Of course, Union Ministry has nothing to do when we are talking about trades and all. So of course, we have separate ministry called Ministry of Commerce. Fine. And DGTR comes under Ministry of Commerce and not the Union Finance Ministry. Fine. So that's why third statement is wrong. We are left with just two statements as correct, that is 1 and 2. Fine. Moving ahead. Next is the question is about interesting question and important question as well. And this question is related to the shapes of economic recovery. Fine. So one first statement is about V-shaped and other is about K-shaped. So please read the statement and try to figure out the correct answer from these given options. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. So V-shaped recovery statement reads, V-shaped recovery is, yes, occurs when following a recession, different parts of the economy recover at different rate, times or magnitude. A K-shaped recovery is characterized by quick and effective recovery in measures of economic performance after an acute decline. So don't you seem that both the statements seems to be interchanged? Yes, as the shape itself suggests, V shape means quickly, see, contraction, extreme contraction, fine. First your GDP is going like this, and then at the same scale increasing as well, fine. So contraction expansion seems to be on this at the same degree, but K-shaped recoveries, as the K letter itself suggests, one, the upward this ray or this part of K is going upward, the below part is going downward. Then what does it mean? That different segments of the economy growing at different rates. Some are growing at a higher rate, some are growing at the lower rates. So these two statements seems to be interchanged with with each other, fine. V-shaped should have been the second statement, and for K-shaped should have been the first statement as correct. So there is interchanging of the two shapes, fine, with respect to the two statements. So that's why the question has been about which one is correct. So since both of them are of course incorrect, because one has been interchanged with the other, so of course both of them are incorrect, remember, fine. So answer is, safely you can mark it as C, that is both 1 and 2. Next is related to International Monetary Fund, IMF. Basically it takes care, it looks after the BOP crisis of the countries, fine. So IMF, kindly read the statements. The IMF was set up with the aim to bring about international economic coordination to prevent competing currency devaluation by countries trying to promote their own exports. It is considered the last resort lender for countries facing severe economic crisis, and quotas are the IMF's main source of financing, wherein each member of the IMF is assigned a quota based broadly on its relative position in the world economy. Yes, so first statement is correct, very much correct. International economic coordination, that's what its main aim or function is. Second, considered as a last resort lender for countries facing severe economic crisis. You could have, you might be aware of the Sri Lankan crisis and even the current Pakistani crisis as well. So this is what the job of IMF, to act as a lender of last resort, fine, especially when the crisis is related to the BOP crisis. Next is quotas are the IMF main source. Indeed, quotas are the, basically these are the quotas are basically related to the members. So different members have different sets of quotas, and they ultimately contribute to the or give funds to this IMF in proportion to their respective quotas. So all three statements 1 and 2, 1 to 3 and are seems to be correct here. Okay. Which of the following is the highest weightage under consumer price index? Urban. Okay. So we have different sets of consumer prices. Consumer price index for, let us say, rural, this agricultural, liberal, then urban, then different segments. Fine. At least we have 4 this consumer price index types, typology. So this is asking you about the consumer price index urban. So try to figure out which one is correct. Highest weightage. Fine. And so in India, remember, most important category in consumer price index is food and beverages, which has the highest weight in CPI rural as well as CPI urban. So CPI urban as well as rural, in both these related to the types of CPI, food and beverages of course constitute the highest or has the highest weightage. Fine. So I hope this is easier one. Food and beverages having highest weightage under CPI urban. Next is Hasdeo movement. Recently seen in news is related to, now we are starting with the environment and ecology. So Hasdeo movement was related to anti-coal mining movement in Chhattisgarh basically. CG, not CH. CH is Chandigarh, CG is Chhattisgarh. Fine. So this Hasdeo movement is related to anti-coal mining movement in Chhattisgarh. Fine. There, this was launched by activists against coal mining in the Hasdeo forest of Chhattisgarh. Fine. Next question is related to high ambition coalition for nature and people. Okay. So correct answer is anti-coal mining movement. Next question related to HSC, that is high ambition coalition for nature and people. Okay. Kindly read the statement and come up with the right answer, correct answer. At least try. Whether you are marking it correct or incorrect, that's a different thing, but essentially we should try. Okay, so high ambition coalition for nation and people is an initiative of World Bank, is it so? Okay, so remember high ambition coalition, which is now more than 100 countries including India, US and UK, came about and put the focus on 30 to 30 goals, that is protecting 30% of the ocean by 2030, fine. So statement 1 is, it is not an invention of course World Bank. So it's a high ambition coalition of different countries, not World Bank. It focuses on 30 goals, is correct, and India is not a party to the coalition. India is indeed party to this coalition. So the moment we say India is party, it means third is wrong, fine. So 2 options gone. High ambition coalition for nation people is an initiative of World Bank, no. So even this gone, only left with 2 only. So 2 is correct. Which of the following are the benefits of using bioenzymes on agricultural land? Bioenzymes on agricultural land. Improves the pH level in soil fertility, acts as a pest repellent, improves the photosynthesis process of the crops. Okay, so the application of bioenzymes on agricultural land. This question is about application. Okay. So what is happening? Actually, farmers are using the waste quinoa fruit to improve the pH level and soil fertility of their land by making bioenzymes from their waste fruit. And spraying bioenzymes works as a pest repellent and also improves the photosynthesis process of the crops as well. Fine. So here all of the 3 seems to be correct. Okay. So of course related to application, in terms of application, most of the times you find all of them as the application for a particular technology or any this biological process or any. Okay, so all of the 3 seems to be correct here. Next is related to persistent organic pollutants, that is POPs. Okay, so can you read the statement related to the POPs and then try to figure out the correct answer from this one given options. Okay, so persistent organic pollutants have the property of long range environmental transport, that is first. As we move up to the food chain, concentration of POPs tends to decrease, so that animals at the top of the food chain tend to have the low concentration of these chemicals. Remember, as we move up the food chain, these tend to have, especially the POPs level, tend to have higher concentration of these chemicals and not the lower. Fine. Of course, it tends to increase, the concentration of POPs tends to increase and not decrease, as has been mentioned in this. It's tend to increase as we move to the higher level of food chain. Fine, increases. So that's why second statement is incorrect. You see, second statement in 3 options means safely you can say need not to even see whether third is correct or not, but safely we mark 1 and 3 as correct. See, the moment we delete second. Fine. Okay, consider the following statement regarding the next is related to the characteristics of mangroves. Mangroves, salt tolerant plants generally you find in the these oceans and sea areas. So read the statement about the characteristic or features of mangroves. Characteristics or features of mangrove, kindly read the statement. So first is mangroves are basically evergreen plants which prefer locations where no silt is found. Okay, they exhibit viviparity mode of reproduction. They produce pneumatophores to overcome. Respiratory or respiration problems. Okay. So first is they are basically evergreen land plants growing on sheltered shores, typically on tidal flats, deltas, estuaries, bays, creeks, and the barrier islands. The best locations are where abundant silt is brought down by the rivers. So this makes your first statement wrong. Rather, they prefer their preferable locations are where silt is found. Fine, silt is brought down by the rivers. and it produces pneumatophorus, basically the blind roots. Pneumatophorus is blind roots to overcome respiration problem, fine. And mangroves exhibit viviparity mode of production, that is viviparity modes of production. What happens under this? Basically the seeds germinate in the tree itself before falling to the ground. So under viviparity modes of reproduction, what happens? Seeds basically germinate in tree itself before this the seeds gets fall into the ground, fine. So this is of course is an adaptive mechanism to overcome the problem of germination in saline water, fine. So what is the correct answer here? First is wrong because they required silt. So the moment you delete first means three options safely you can delete or gone, just left with 2 and 3 as correct answers. Okay, apart from bacteria, which of the following living species may be involved in the nitrogen cycle in our atmosphere? Apart from bacteria, which of the following living species may be involved in the nitrogen cycle in our atmosphere? Okay, so which among the following are involved in nitrogen cycle, nitrogen fixation and all? So animals, humans and green plants, I think all of them, of course. Plants generally take up the nitrates and nitrites and convert them into amino acids, fine, which are used to make further proteins. And these proteins and other complex compounds are subsequently consumed by animals, fine. And of course, further molecules, let us say, or more complex molecules in living beings and back again to the simple nitrogen. Okay, so these also, even the plants we have discussed, animals and even the bacteria, green plants, animals and humans. Okay, so humans, of course, living beings, so humans. So all of these three seems to be correct. That apart from bacteria, which of the following living species may be involved in the nitrogen cycle in our atmosphere? So of course, all of the three, even humans, of course. So nitrogen fixation, nitrogen cycle, all of the three. Next is, which of the following sources produce sulfur dioxide emissions? Okay, sulfur dioxide. Which among the following sources produces sulfur dioxide? So what should be the answer? Phytoplanktons. Okay, smelter wovens. Phytoplankton are basically, yes, live in symbiotic relationship with corals basically. So natural sources, you can say volcanoes, fires, phytoplankton, etc. produces sulfur dioxide, but burning sulfur rich fossil fuels, primarily coal, oil and petroleum, is the main source of the gas. And smelter ovens, so smelting is related to, of course, metals. So smelter ovens used to concentrate what? Metals that found in ore form, ores, fine, also produce the sulfur dioxide. So all of them seems to be correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct. Next is correct. Consider the following statement regarding Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Okay, so kindly read the statements and figure out the correct answer from this. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Okay, first is that provides protection for not only wild animals and birds but also for plants to ensure ecological and environmental security of the country. Okay, that's why we're talking about wildlife. It aims to conserve protected species by prohibiting their hunting and by protecting their habitat through the creation of sanctuaries, national parks and reserves. Indeed, that's the purpose, that's the objective or aim, of course. And the third statement, the act completely prohibits, completely, focus on the word, keywords, completely prohibits capturing of hunting any species of animals listed under schedules 1 to 4. Okay, so completely word seems to be problematic here, fine, because schedule 1 to 4 there are few exceptions as well, such as hunting a diseased or dangerous animal or bird constituting a threat to human life or property or for scientific research or management. So of course not completely banned, fine. So the issue with this is with this word completely, fine. So two statements are correct, 1 and 2. So therefore correct option would be B. Next is related to the regarding nitrous oxide. Kindly read the statement quickly and come up with the right answer, correct answer. Try to get the correct answer at least. So what should be correct here? And remember, the question is about incorrect, not correct. So kindly read the statements. Yes, kindly read the statements and try to figure out the correct answer, incorrect answer rather. Okay, so first is nitrous oxide is also known as laughing gas. Okay, indeed. Nitrous oxide has significant medical uses, especially in surgery and dentistry for its anesthetic and pain reducing effects. Okay, so nitrous oxide is indeed also known as laughing gas, and it has significant medical applications, especially in surgery, dentistry, anesthesia, anesthetic and pain reducing effects as well. And it is on the World Health Organization list of essential medicines. Remember, the safest and most effective medicines needed in a health system, fine, which are essential medicines. Okay, so what does it mean? That both the statements are correct, but since the question is about which among the following are incorrect, so since both are correct, so neither are incorrect, so option would be D, neither of them are incorrect, since both of them are correct. Okay, moving next to next question. Okay, related to United Nations Environment Program, this has been instrumental in creating several science policy platforms that bring together scientists, governments, international organizations and civil society, such as, so UNEP has brought which among the following, you know, or you can see which among the following are related to UNEP directly and indirectly. So green growth knowledge platform, climate and clean air coalition, and intergovernmental science policy panel on biodiversity ecosystem services, IPBEBS. UNEP, you know, all we are all of hope we all are aware of about the UNEP. So UNEP has also been instrumental in creating several science policy platforms that bring together these, you know, different stakeholders, and it constitutes, you know, such as IPCC, the famous, you know, IPCC reports, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Then we have International Resource Panel as well. Then we have IPBES as well, BES, the third option, and we also have CCAC, that is Climate and Clean Air Coalition. Further, we have Green Growth Knowledge Platform, and ultimately we have Environment Live Platform as well. Fine. So these are 6 different constituent body, or let us say agency of this, or different platforms of UNEP. Fine. So all of the 3 options seems to be correct here, because they come under the out of 6. These are the 3 ones, and these are the 3. Fine. So all of them are correct. Okay, consider the following statement regarding lightning. Okay, now we are starting with the science and this geography especially, not science. So consider the following regarding to lightning. Can you read the statement and figure out the correct answer? Okay, so lightning is a rapid and massive electrical discharge that takes place between storm clouds and the ground. Indeed, you might have seen sometime even the elephants get killed, fine, due to this. So what it means, elephants are of course on the grounds, not flying in the air. So so you can relate this thing that of course lightning is a rapid and massive electrical discharge that takes place between storm clouds and the ground objects. Lightning doesn't occur within the cloud themselves. This is what this since first statement is talking about electrical discharge that takes place between storm clouds. So if first is correct, then second cannot be correct, or if first is wrong, second cannot be wrong. Fine, because it's saying does not occur within the cloud themselves. So this statement seems to be a problematic one. Then third is soaring global temperatures could lead to more hot lightning strikes in many parts of the world. Fine, indeed, global temperatures or global warming can, you know, over the time you might have seen that lightning, of course, especially the hot lightning and these incidents increasing over the time. Fine, like any other climate related phenomena. So of course, this is the impact of global temperature or global warming per se. So 1 and 3 of course correct. Second statement is wrong, because lightning doesn't occur within the clouds. Lightning indeed occurs within the clouds. That's why the first statement is it takes place between the storm clouds and the ground. Fine. So when first is correct, second indeed would be incorrect. We are saying does not occur within the clouds. Fine. So second is wrong. 1 and 3 therefore correct. Okay. Next is about tornadoes. currently we are experiencing cyclone Biparjoy in Indian this Arabian Sea, and landfall yesterday only made landfall in Gujarat. Fine. So tornadoes, of course, all of these are consequences of course, global warming and all. Okay, so tornadoes. Tornadoes are whirling vertical air columns that form from thunderstorms without stretching to the ground. Okay. Second statement is changes in the wind's speed and direction can lead to strong tornadoes. So of course, this seems to be a progressive statement. Second one, I think no issue with the second one. Now let us check the first one. So tornadoes are whirling vertical air columns that form from thunderstorm and stretch to the ground. Fine, stretch to the ground. The issue is with the first statement is saying without stretching to the ground, rather they does stretch to the ground. Fine. So issue is with the first statement. Second is indeed correct, because for strong tornadoes especially changes in the direction and wind speed is required. Fine, are required. So that's why the issue is with the without word. It does stretches to the ground. So that's why the correct statement here is only 2, that is B option. One is wrong. Okay, next is solar eclipse. Okay. Solar eclipse occurs when the sun is positioned in between the moon and the earth for a few minutes. Okay. Can you read? This seems to be a problematic statement because it is sun is positioned between moon and earth for a few minutes. A solar eclipse rather occurs when the moon is positioned in between sun and the earth for few minutes and not the sun. So the issue is with the position of sun here. It's not sun which is positioned between the moon and the earth, rather moon is positioned between earth and sun. So wrong is 1, correct is 1 and of course 2 and 3. So the moment 1 gone, we are left with just single statement, single option, that is 2 and 3. Fine. So even if you are doubtful about this, even no issue, even of course this much we read study in geography, basically basics about the this solar eclipse. So of course first statement we can easily negate, and the moment we negate first one, we are left with just one option, that is 2 and 3 as correct. Okay. Next is shallow earthquakes. So next is the question is related to the earthquakes. Okay. Can you read the statement? So question is, first option is this statement: shallow earthquakes are generally less devastating compared to deeper earthquakes because shallow earthquakes carry less energy when they emerge on the surface. Okay, but remember, shallow earthquakes are generally more devastating because they carry greater energy when they emerge on the surface. Fine, and not the lesser or less devastating or carry the less energy. Fine. So first statement is incorrect because they are more devastating and carry more energy. Of course, they would be devastating only when carrying more of energy. Fine. Then the deeper earthquakes. Second option is the seismic waves of deeper earthquakes move radially upward to the surface. Radially upward is vertically. The earthquake magnitude scale gives a measure of the energy released by seismic waves. Okay, magnitude scale gives the, of course, it tells us about the measure or measures the energy released by seismic waves. So 1 again gone. The moment 1 gone, we are left with just B and C. This is 2 only, or 2 and 3 only. So of course, the earthquake magnitude scale gives a measure of energy released. So 3 is correct, 2 is correct, 1 is only incorrect. So it means the correct option is 2 and 3. Only issue is with the first statement or first option. Rest 2 are correct. Okay. Next is, consider the following statements. Western Himalayas is one of the most dangerous seismic zone in the world because of the huge amount of energy stored along the fault lines due to the continuous interaction of different tectonic plates. Okay. Seismic waves, can you read the statements and try to come up with the correct answer? First is indeed correct. Western Himalayas continues to be one of the most dangerous seismic zones in the world. Fine. This is because the huge amount of energy is stored along the fault lines due to continuous interaction of different tectonic plates. Fine. So of course, Western Himalaya is of course is a vulnerable or dangerous seismic zone area. Second is seismic waves travel significantly faster than the speed of light. No. With the present technological advancement, the prediction of future earthquakes can be easily made. No, it's not that easy to predict like cyclones that we can predict. Earthquakes are not that easy to predict. And the seismic waves travel significantly slower than the speed of light, not more. Attempts to find reliable predictors to earthquake have not been fruitful so far. Fine, so we have been unable to we are unable till now to find out the correct technology or tools to measure the earthquake. So correct option is of course only one, because second and third wrong. So correct would be just one, A option only. Okay, what will be the correct sequence of cities on the bank of river Ganga if someone moves from east to west? So अगर east से हम west travel करें, especially on the bank of river Ganga, respect to river Ganga, so what would be the sequence of these cities? Easy question. Okay, so what should be the correct answer here? Of course, if you will start from east, means firstly you will find Patna, then you will be finding Varanasi, then Allahabad, Kanpur and so on. Fine, Kanpur, Agra, and then further Saharanpur and all. So of course, correct option would be C, from east to west. Consider the following statement regarding National Assessment and Accreditation Council. Okay, so this statement is related to NAC, means we are starting now the government schemes and programs or being recently in news. So let us start with the first. Find out the correct statement. Which one is correct? Options is actually. So it is saying that NAC is entrusted with assessing the quality of India's higher education institutions. ठीक बात है. All colleges and universities registered by UGC are mandatorily assessed by NAC. No, ये उनकी श्रद्धा है कि वो करवाना चाहते हैं assessment की नहीं, ठीक है. If an institution is graded D, it means it is not accredited. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. So any institution graded D, it means it is not accredited. Fine, accredited, and the process is not mandatory but rather voluntary in nature. Fine. So the voluntary nature of the process makes second statement wrong. So we are left with just 1 and 3 as correct. Fine. Next is the National Population Register. NPR is a register of all the usual residents of India, which includes both citizens and non-citizens. At present, the law mandates the linking of electoral roll with Aadhaar, and the Criminal Procedure Rules 2022 enable enforcement agency to collect biological samples, retina scan, biometrics and behavioral attributes of convicted and detained persons. So kindly read the statements and try to come up with the right answer. Okay. So this statement, at present the law mandates the linking of electoral rolls with Aadhaar. No, this is not mandatory, remember. A law now allows electoral rolls to be linked with Aadhaar, but it is not mandatory, it is voluntary still now. Fine. So second statement is wrong. Now let us check the first. NPR is indeed a register for all the usual resident of India, which includes both citizens and non-citizens. And third is Criminal Procedure Rules 2022. So even 3 is correct. Means we are having only issue with the second option. So correct answer would be D option, that is 1 and 3. It is not mandatory, remember, it is voluntary. Fine. That is linking your electoral roll with Aadhaar, voter ID with Aadhaar. Okay. Consider the following statements. Indian Council for Cultural Relation, ICCR, under Ministry of Culture is responsible to promote cultural exchanges with other countries and people. ICCR was founded by Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, and School of Foreign Language under the Ministry of External Affairs offer foreign language courses to diplomats. Yes, if you become diplomat, if you choose to be an Indian Foreign Affairs, if you choose or if you have first preference as Indian Foreign Services, then of course you need to learn the foreign languages as well. And this is School of Foreign Language under the aegis of Ministry of External Affairs imparts this or offers foreign language courses to the diplomats, that is the IFS officers. Fine. Okay. So here which is the correct correct answer. So correct is need to check it out whether third is correct or not. I doubt. School of Foreign Languages under the Ministry of External Affairs. Okay. So First is this is under the Ministry of Culture, ICCR. Okay. Remember, Indian Council for Cultural Relation is an autonomous body under the administrative control of Ministry of External Affairs. So first statement is wrong. Please do not confuse yourself that Indian Council for Cultural Relation, the word culture there, that's why it would be under the Ministry of Culture. No, because it takes care of the foreign things. Let us say Indian Council for Cultural Relations. So basically the cultural aspect of relations with the foreign nations. So that's why it comes under the this administrative control of Ministry of External Affairs. And the School of Foreign Language was established by the Ministry of Defense and not the Ministry of External Affairs. Fine. So that's why the third statement is wrong. First statement is wrong because of the ministries. Fine. So only correct option here is indeed it was established by or founded by Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Fine. Of course, he was the Education Minister of India. So the only statement correct here is 2. Okay. Next is Vigyan Jyoti scheme related to Vigyan Jyoti. Easy to figure out, easier one. So empowering girls, of course, in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, of course Vigyan. So it is related to empowering girls in STEM, that is science, tech, engineering and mathematics. Consider the following statements. Next question is related to the Ministry of Defense unveiled the Agnipath scheme, a pan-India merit-based recruitment scheme. So the question is related to the Agnipath scheme for soldiers, airmen and sailors. Can you read the statement? The second statement is related to the age group and the period is for 4 years and to serve the armed forces for 4 years, and the enrollment in the armed forces CAPF, ITBP, BSF are done adhering to the caste-based formula and cannot exceed 50% cap fixed by the Supreme Court. So of course third statement seems to be what? Problematic. So of course first is correct indeed, Agnipath, because armed forces, the army, navy or air force do not recruit adhering to the caste based formula, remember. So that's why third statement is wrong. The moment we delete third, we are left with just 1, 2 or 1 only. So let us check out the second statement, second option. Under the Agnipath scheme, candidates in the age group of 17.5 to 21 years would be provided an opportunity to serve in the armed forces for a period of 4 years. So this statement, this option indeed is very much correct. So we are left with just the only statement which is wrong or problematic is third. There is no caste based recruitment here. Fine. So what would be correct answer here? 1 and 2. Only issue is with the third. Okay. Next is India is the largest contributor to global TB cases. Okay. Next question is related to the TB, tuberculosis basically. Fine. So read the statement and try to come up, figure out the correct answer quickly. Okay, so India is the largest contributor to global TB cases, accounts for more than 50% of all TB cases in the world. Is it so? No. We account, remember, less than 30%. It accounts precisely, we account precisely around 28% of all TB cases in the world. Fine. So this makes the statement 1 wrong. Elimination of tuberculosis is one of the sustainable development goals indeed, and although elimination of tuberculosis is one of the sustainable development target to be achieved by 2030, of course SDG or Agenda 2030 by the world, but India has set the target to for itself to achieve this by or eliminate tuberculosis by the year 2025. Okay? So first is wrong because of 50% is just 28%. So correct is just 2 and 3. Fine. Next question is related to the Jal Jeevan Mission. Next is related to Jal Jeevan Mission. Aims to provide safe and adequate drinking water through tap connections to all households in India by 2024. The Jal Jeevan Mission is based on a community approach to water and include extensive information, education, communication as a key component of the mission. It also includes elements such as recharge and reuse through grey water management, water conservation. So of course, what seems to be correct here? Yes. One is Jal Jeevan Mission aims to provide safe and adequate drinking water through tap connections to all households in India by 2024. Okay, remember, not all households in India, though it aims to provide this tap connections or tap water to households, but that is only rural households and not the urban households. Fine, remember the only issue here is with the not all households but all rural households, because all में तो फिर rural urban दोनों आ सकते हैं ना. So the issue is with rural only, means this deals with rural only. So that's why first statement is wrong. Just we are left with, the moment you delete 3 means 3 options are gone, just left with the only C as correct answer option. Next is the Self-Reliant India Fund. Self-Reliant India Fund. So Self-Reliant India Fund provides equity funding to MSMEs in India. It is a SEBI registered category 2 alternative investment fund. The SRI fund is operated by a consortium of private agencies approved by SEBI. Okay, let us check it out. Okay, so SRI is operated by a consortium of private agency approved by SEBI. Okay. The government of Self-Reliant India Fund provides equity funding to micro, small and medium enterprises, indeed correct. And the SRI fund is SEBI registered category 2 alternative investment fund, fine, that operates through a mother fund and daughter fund structure and aims to invest rupees 50,000 crores in into MSMEs. And the SRI fund is implemented by NSIC, that is NSIC Venture Capital Fund Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of the government's MSMEs Growth Agency, National Small Industrial Corporation, NSIC, fine. So this is not a consortium of private agency approved by the SEBI, but it is led by a government agency called National Small Industrial Corporation, NSIC, fine. So that's why 3 is wrong. The moment you delete 3 or this third option, so you are left with just one option as correct, that is 1 and 2, fine, because you find 3 in 3 of the options. Consider the following statement. Surrogacy. Okay, so next is related to surrogacy. Surrogacy or Regulation Act 2021 allows for surrogacy to married couples, live-in partners, single women are also foreigners. The laws in India does not allow for altruistic surrogacy, okay, and assisted reproductive technology, that is ART, include gamete donation, intrauterine insemination and in vitro fertilization. Fine. So quickly read the statement and figure out the correct answer from this correct option. So remember, this Surrogacy Regulation Act came in 2021 and it allows for surrogacy to be available only to infertile Indian married couples and not to all the couples or live-in partners or single women. Fine. So it allowed for surrogacy or surrogate mother, or this to be available only to the infertile Indian married couples and not to all the couples, fine, or a single women, fine. So this makes the statement 1 wrong. Now check it. Let us check the second statement. The laws in India does not allow for altruistic surrogacy. Okay. The act also says that the surrogate should be married and have a child of her own. Restricting altruistic surrogacy to legally wedded infertile Indian couples, the act sets an age limitation for the couple where a husband must be 26 to 55 years of age and wife between 23 to 50 years. So of course, the act doesn't restrict as per se the altruistic surrogacy, rather it allows fine, something done in good faith like altruist, So, but there is some age category for both the husband and wife. Fine, that husband should be 26 to 55 and wife should be between the age of 23 to 50, and then they can have this surrogate child. Fine. So first is it's does, not is wrong. First statement is wrong. Of course, it is for only infertile married couples. Not all mentions here. Of course, also especially not foreigners or single women. The law in India does not allow, it allows for altruistic surrogacy, but certain conditionality, like there is age group for or there age category for husband and wife, and assisted ART technology include this. So of course, third statement is only correct here. Fine. ARTs include such kind of gamete donation alongside intrauterine insemination as well and IVF as well. Okay. So FERA or FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, a registered association in India can receive foreign contributions for which of the following purposes? Okay. So under FCRA 2010 and amendments in even 2022, so registered association can receive foreign contributions for social, educational, economic and even religious and cultural purposes. Fine. So all of them seems to be correct here. All of them seems to be correct here. Okay. Next is related to semiconductor. Okay. Semiconductor comes between conductor and insulator, in between these two. So first is semiconductor is a material which is in electrical conductivity values falling between that of conductor and insulator. Yes, indeed true. Quantum computing and enhanced wireless networks rely on semiconductors. Yes, application of semiconductors in these two fields. And the PLI and design linked incentive schemes encourage building semiconductor ecosystem in India. Yes, PLI and DLI are applicable to this semiconductor industry, fine, or ecosystem especially. Government is giving push through these two measures, fine. Of course, so all of them are correct here, isn't it? Yeah, so all of them seems to be correct here, 1, 2 and 3. Next is related to space internet companies prefer low Earth orbit satellites over geostationary orbit satellites because, okay, so what should be related to space internet companies? Keep in mind space internet companies we are talking about, those companies which are providing internet through the satellites, fine. So they prefer low LEO in satellites over geostationary GOES because of this very important keyword here, which if you can pick, you can easily answer the you can easily mark this question as correct, and that is the latency. Excuse me. So the latency of signal from GOES satellites is much higher than that from LEO. Latency is how much time it takes to, that your signal takes to connect the web, fine, or any website, fine. So that is actually the time. Okay, so there is a time lag called latency. So this is basically related to the time lag and between, let us say, user seeking data and the server sending the data, fine. So latency is basically this time lag, fine. Next is, so correct statement is of course it. Next is traditionally salt is used as a natural preservative for which among the following? Salt is used as a natural preservative for which among the following? So these are the four options. We need to figure out the correct ones, fine. Okay, so tamarind, raw mangoes, amla and jams and jellies. So where we use this salt as a natural preservative. So one is correct, tamarind is of course used. Tamarind, raw mangoes, raw kache as a natural preservative, okay, and amla, okay, one of course even amla, and jams and jellies. So jams and jellies, remember here we use preservative. These are preserved by sugar and not salt. Remember, jams, jellies and squashes preserved by sugar and not salt. Salt is basically used to preserve amla, raw mangoes and tamarind, etc. Remember, meats and all, fine. So jams and jellies are not there. So just 1, 2, 3 are correct, not the fourth. Okay, next is consider the following regarding reprography. Reprography refers to the reproduction and duplication of documents, written materials, drawings and design. It is carried out with the minimal or complete absence of light. Complete absence of light. Need to focus here. Statement question is about incorrect. So it's easier to say that of course reprography has been true, correctly defined in the first option. Second is it wrong. It's not about minimal or complete absence of light. Indeed, we need light. Fine. So by any process making use of light rays or photographic means for this reprography. So we need photographic means or light rays. So that's why this statement 2 is wrong. Complete absence of light. We need light. So incorrect keep in mind that what is asking. So 2 is incorrect, 1 is correct. Consider the following statement regarding dengue or dengue, whatever you say. Okay, so it is the mosquitoes that cause dengue and chikungunya do not breed in clear water. Is it so? Okay, indeed they breed in clean water only, clear water. The mosquitoes that transmit dengue or dengue are also vectors of chikungunya and Zika viruses. The symptoms of dengue is similar to that of measles, rubella, measles and all. So dengue is indeed transmitted by several species of mosquitoes within the genus Aedes. Fine, and these are similar to measles. These mosquitoes are also vectors of chikungunya, yellow fever and Zika viruses. So it means only statement which is problematic here is 1. It is saying do not breed in clear water. They indeed breed in clear water or clean water. So they are VIP kind of this vectors. So that's why they breed in clear water, not on this muddy or. Okay, so correct here is 1 is wrong, 2 and 3 only correct. Okay, next is about 3D bioprinting technology. 3D bioprinting technology. Okay, and it is related to consider the following statement regarding 3D biotechnology involves. Okay, so 3D bioprinting utilizes the 3D printing techniques to combine cells, growth factors and biomaterials to fabricate biomedical parts. 3D bioprinting involves a layer by layer method to create tissues like a structure that are later used in various medical and tissue engineering fields, and 3D bioprinting can be used to reconstruct tissues from various regions of the body. Okay, so this is related to, it seems more or less like an application of 3D bioprinting technology. So of course all of this seems to be the application of this 3D bioprinting technology or the features of 3D bioprinting technology. That is 3D, of course third dimensional bioprinting is the utilization of 3D printing like techniques to combine cells and all, fine, and it can utilize a layer by layer method to deposit materials to create tissue like structures as well, and 3D bioprinting can be used to reconstruct tissue from various regions of the body as well. So therefore all of the 3 statements seems to be correct here, all of the 3. Okay, next is consider the following statement regarding Marburg virus disease. Marburg is probably in Germany. Let us find it out. Is it Germany or somewhere else? Marburg virus disease. Okay. Yes, Marburg and Frankfurt, where it actually outbreak took place in 1967 only. These are in Germany only. Okay. So let us quickly read the statements. Marburg virus disease is severe, often fatal hemorrhagic fever, okay, brain hemorrhage and all. Marburg, like Ebola, is a filovirus and both diseases are clinically similar. Rosetta's fruit bats are considered the natural host for the Marburg virus. Okay. So Marburg virus disease, or known as Marburg hemorrhage, this hemorrhagic fever is severe, often fatal hemorrhagic fever according to WHO, and Marburg like Ebola is a filovirus, and therefore both diseases are clinically similar, and Rosette's fruit bats are considered the natural host for the Marburg virus. Fine. Okay, so all of them seems to be correct. All of the 3 seems to be correct here. Okay, next is the small sized colloidal particles in the air can easily scatter a beam of visible light, and this scattering of beam is known as, we have time and again, I think we have studied this in our general science, this basically let us say higher schools or during 8th, 9th, 10th, this science book. Okay. So the small size colloidal particles in the air can easily scatter. So the Tyndall effect is basically the light scattering by particles in a colloidal solution or colloid or in a very fine suspension. So it is a indeed Tyndall effect. Fine. So easier question, answer is Tyndall. Consider the following statements related to graphene. Again an emerging, you can say tech and all. Okay, so it is saying first is graphene is a double atom thick layer of carbon atoms bonded in a honeycomb pattern. Fine, indeed this is a carbon atom bonded in a honeycomb pattern, but is it a double atom thick layer? That's we need to check it out. Graphene can display the property of giant magnetoresistance GMR at room temperature, and giant magnetoresistance is a result of electrical resistance of a conductor being affected by magnetic field in adjacent materials. So GMR has been defined in this third statement. Fine. Let us check it out. First is double atom thick layer. I doubt this. But graphene, a single atom thick layer. Yes, that's the issue here. It's not double atom thick layer, it's a single atom thick layer. Remember, that's the issue with this first statement. First option you can say is single, not double. So that's why first is gone. The moment first gone, we are left with the two only options, 2 only or 2 and 3. So 3 has been is the definition of your GMR. So of course third is correct. So what should be the correct option now? Of course we are left with just 2 and 3 as correct. Next is sound and light waves are. Again easy question from general science. Sound and wave lights are. Yes, sound wave is of course longitudinal and light wave is transverse. Then what is the difference? So remember, longitudinal wave is a wave in which the particles of the medium vibrate in the same direction as the propagation of the wave. Fine, means direction remains same in the longitudinal waves, but in transverse wave, in which particles move perpendicular to the direction of wave propagation. Fine, perpendicular where you see the two troughs and crest, and you measure the length and amplitude, fine, between trough and crest. So basically the longitudinal waves, that is your this light waves propagating longitudinal, this transverse they are transverse waves, so indeed means they propagate in perpendicular to the direction of the wave propagation. So of course sound is longitudinal and light is transverse. So correct is C, again from general science. Aedes aegypti mosquito mainly spreads which of the following disease? Okay, so this is a vector. The question is about it spreads diseases, which among the following disease? That's what we need to check it out. Okay, let's figure out what is the correct option here. Yes, so chikungunya already discussed, yellow fever and dengue. These are the 3 primary this disease basically spread by this mosquito Aedes family, or this not malaria, not Japanese encephalitis. Fine. So Aedes, the yellow fever mosquito is a mosquito that can spread dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika virus, marrow and yellow fever viruses and other diseases. Malaria is transmitted by Anopheles mosquitoes, and Japanese encephalitis is generally spread by mosquitoes, specifically those of Culex type. Fine. So these 2 are wrong. So only correct option here is 1 and 2. 3, 4 are not the correct ones. Fine. Okay. Next is hominins are the extinct members of the human lineage. The question is about hominins. Hominins are indeed extinct members of the human lineage. Mitochondria, popularly called the powerhouse of the cell, is an organelle inside the cell that has its own DNA. Okay, and mitochondrial DNA contains the entire genetic information in the cell. Okay, so mitochondria is indeed the powerhouse of the cell and is an organelle inside the cell that has its own DNA. Fine, but is this mitochondria or mitochondrial DNA contains the entire genetic information in the cell? This is again extreme word. I said completely, entirely or entire. These are the words which you need to pause and think again or think twice. So of course, although mitochondrial genome is small and only contains a fraction of genetic information in the cell, it is present in thousands of copies. Fine. So of course, this contains only small and only a fraction of genetic information in the cell and not complete or entire. So that's why third is wrong, not entire but small and fractions. Now, mitochondrial popularly called the powerhouse, indeed. So we are having 2 options as correct, that is 1 and 2. Third is wrong. Okay, next. India is a member of which of the following constituents of the World Bank group? Okay, easy. India is not member of the only group of out of 6 this bodies of this World Bank, and that is which one? Remember, India is not member of International Center for Settlement of Investment Related Disputes. Fine, ICSID. rather rest, India is member of every group or this body of World Bank related group, fine, or World Bank. So only second is incorrect, means 1, 3, 4 are correct. So you can easily mark B as the correct option. Next is International Criminal Court. Okay, so quickly read the statement and try to figure out the correct answer. Okay. International Criminal Court was created as a standing body to investigate war crimes, genocide and crime against humanity. Okay. It was created under United Nations Statute. Okay, hold on. The court is based in The Hague, that is the Netherlands, and both India and United States are state parties to the ICC. No. Remember, it was not created under the United States Statute. That's why it is even based on in The Hague, the Netherlands, fine, and therefore not both India and United States are state parties to the ICC. No, neither of them are state parties, and first is correct, second is wrong, third is correct, fourth is wrong. So we are left with the correct option as 1 and 3 only, fine. Fine. Only 1 and 3 are correct and not 2 and 4. So next is consider the following statement regarding SCO. Of course, SCO meeting it has been in news. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization has been an observer in the United Nations General Assembly, and Varanasi is the first tourism and cultural capital of SCO. Okay, it's an easy one, easier question. So kindly try to figure out the correct option from the given options. It's about incorrect. Since both of them are correct, so neither would be incorrect. Indeed, Varanasi has been declared as the first tourism and cultural capital of SCO. Fine. So since the question is about incorrect, since both of them are correct, so neither would be incorrect. Okay. Regarding Interpol Red Notice, Red Corner Notice, we say it popularly, Interpol Red Corner Notice. So read the statement about this. Red Corner, it is a request to law enforcement worldwide to locate and provisionally arrest a person pending extradition, surrender or similar legal action. Red notice acts as an international arrest warrant, okay, and red notice also mention the crimes for which the person is wanted for. Of course, this is at least if somebody is coming to arrest you, you must be aware of your crime as well, fine, though you might be aware by your conscience. Okay, so B is this second red notice acts as the international arrest warrant. This is not correct. Red notices are generally issued for fugitives wanted either for prosecution or to serve a sentence. Red notice also mention the crimes they are wanted for, but it is not an international arrest warrant, remember, fine. It is not an international arrest warrant. So second is wrong, 1 and 3 only correct. Consider the following statements regarding International Telecom Union, ITU. Okay, read the given statements and try to figure out the correct option. ITU's area office and innovation center is located in India. Yes, this is correct. That's why this is the question. Because India signed a host country agreement in March 2022 with ITU for the establishment of area office, fine, which will host or which this office will serve India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Afghanistan and Iran. Okay. Of course, ITU is the United Nations Specialized Agency for Information Telecommunication Technologies, and ITU promotes the shared global use of radio spectrum and facilitates international cooperation. Since it is related to international telecommunications, so of course it will facilitate all these radio spectrum and international cooperation in assigning satellite orbits as well. Fine, indeed, without any doubt. So that's why all of the three seems to be correct. Fine. The only issue to check was the third statement related to area office in India. So indeed, this is going to open in India. So that's why all of them are correct. So all of the three. Okay, next is related to the consider the following statement regarding the membership change in the United Nations Security Council. Okay, so changing the membership of the council requires amending the UN Charter. It involves consent of 1/3 of the total membership of the UN, including the concurring votes of permanent members of the UN Security Council. Okay, is it so? Let us check it out. Okay. Can you read the statement? Can you read the question? Try to figure out the correct answer from this. Amendment, changing the membership of the council requires amending the charter, indeed UN Charter, and it's not 1/3, rather 2/3 of the total membership. It involves consent of 2/3 of the total membership of the UN, including the concurring vote of or concurrence of the P5, that is permanent 5 members. Fine. Okay. So the issue is with the second statement only, and that is 1/3. It should be 2/3. 2/3, not 1/3. So the second is wrong, one is only correct. Fine. Okay, next is UNGA regarding the roles and functions of United Nations General Assembly. Okay. All the decisions, including admission of new members and budgetary matters, are made through voting and requires 2/3 majority. Okay. Each sovereign state gets one vote, and the votes are binding on the membership. No, it cannot be binding. Fine. And it's not 2/3 majority. It requires just simple majority. Fine. Voting by majority, there are different categories. For example, admission of new members and budgetary matters requires 2/3 majority, while the decision or the issues are taken by simple majority. But here the word is all the decisions, including the admission of new members and budgetary matters, are made through voting. All the decisions, not all the decisions, but only the decisions related to the admission of new members and budgetary matters require 2/3 majority, and not the other decisions which are taken by simple majority, you can say. Fine. Second statement is each sovereign, the votes are binding on the membership. No, this is not binding. This depends on the countries. Varies from whether the country wants to vote or wants to abstain. So it entirely depends on countries. And UNGA has no binding veto powers like the UN Security Council. Indeed, third is correct. So only statement which is correct here is B, that is 3 only. UNGA doesn't UNGA doesn't hold this binding veto powers like the UN Security Council. Fine. So third is incorrect. Third is correct only. Next is, now we are starting with the polity section. So consider the following statements. Unlike judicial custody, police custody requires the accused to be furnished before the magistrate in 24 hours. Okay, and we read the statement. Polity sections. Now we are starting the easier side. I mean, all the questions were more or less easy to moderate ones, not that difficult. So let us start with the polity. So read and try to come up with the correct answer. Which one is correct answer here? Unlike judicial custody, police custody requires the accused to be furnished before the magistrate in 24 hours. Okay. In judicial custody, the investigating authority can interrogate a person, while in police custody, official need the permission of the court for questioning. But this seems to be, the first half of the statement, judicial custody, should follow the second half of the statement, that in judicial custody, you need this permission of the court for questioning, and not in the police custody. So that's why the second statement is incorrect. So we are left just with the only first as correct. Fine. Okay. So one is only correct and not the second one. So A option is correct. Next is statement regarding doctrine of essentiality. Doctrine of essentiality. Fine. So what exactly is the this doctrine of essentiality? Essential. What is essential? Okay. Kindly read and try to come up with the right answer, or try to figure out the correct answer. So this doctrine of essentiality, remember, was invented by a 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court in Shirur Mutt case in 1954. The court held that the term religion will cover all rituals and practices integral to a particular religion, and took upon itself the responsibility of determining the essential and non-essential practices of religion. This question was there because of what happened in MPs, all burqas and all, that the schools their not MP, sorry, Karnataka, basically their institutions or schools or colleges banned burqa for the Muslim girls. So that's why this question was there, whether the burqa is an essential practices of Muslims or not, fine, or Islam you can say. So this was the, that's why this question is there, fine. So first statement is the doctrine of essentiality was invented by Supreme Court in Shirur Mutt case 1954, exactly correct. The Supreme Court has held that the term religion will cover all rituals and practices integral to a religion. Yes. So essentials would be the things which would be integral to the religion, integral to any religion, let us say. So both are the correct statements. Next is the Lok Sabha speaker has the authority to decide whether a question or a part of it is not admissible under the norms of the House and disallow any question or a part. In Lok Sabha, questions are not admitted when. Okay, so in Lok Sabha, questions are not admitted when the questions are repetitive or have been answered previously. Of course, अगर repetitive हो and previously answered हो चुके हों questions के, तो of course उसको admit करने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. Fine. The matter is under consideration before a parliamentary committee. Again, if something is under consideration, it cannot raise in the parliament, and the matter is pending for judgment before any court. Of course, even in this case, you cannot, or speaker disallows any question, fine, or a part of it. So therefore, all the three statements are correct. So on the three under consider the situation, speaker disallows the questions. The preamble to the Constitution of India gives an idea about which of the following. Okay. So preamble gives us idea about the Constitution and which about which among the following. Date of its also adoption, of course, 26th of November 1949, and finally implementation or with effect from this 26th January 1950. Source of authority of the Constitution, of course, sources for the authority of Constitution. Nature of the Indian state, of course, and also the date of its principles of the Constitution. Fine. So all these four rather options, preamble gives us idea about all of the mentioned four options. So therefore, correct would be all, D. Conceptual question from the preamble part. Preamble, small chapter but bigger impact. Most of the time you find a question related to preamble, the UPSC, or any this exam, especially state services as well. So guidelines for registration of political parties is issued under Representation of People Act 1951. Election Commission has a statutory power to enforce internal democracy in political parties. Of course not. Internal democracy is a matter of party, not the it is a statutory power of the ECI. So therefore, second statement is incorrect. So the question has been about which one among the following statements are incorrect. So second is incorrect, therefore first is of course correct. So therefore second is only incorrect. Okay, next is consider the following statements regarding the provisions in the Constitution of India on the appointment of judges in the higher judiciary. Okay, so first is the appointment of judges in the higher judiciary is made as per the process mentioned in the Constitution. Every judge of the Supreme Court shall be appointed by the President by warrant under his hand and seal. Remember, hand and seal का मतलब कि in writing President signs, you know, it cannot be electronic signed, but he has to signed in writing in writing in papers, let us say. Fine, that is under his warrant, under his hand and seal. Okay, next is in the case of appointment of judge other than the Chief Justice, the Chief Justice of India shall always be consulted. Yes, it is very much correct. So second is even correct, because in higher judiciary every judge of especially Supreme Court appointed by the President under his warrant by warrant under his hand and seal. The appointment of judges in the higher judiciary is made as per the process mentioned in the Constitution. Okay, but remember, what does the Constitution say on the appointment of judges in the higher judiciary? Article 124 clause 2 and 217 of the Constitution deals with the appointment of judges to the respective Supreme Court and High Courts, but the Constitution does not lay down any process for making these appointments. Rather, this has been left to the President under Article 124 clause 2, which says that every judge of the Supreme Court shall be appointed by the President by warrant under his hand and seal. Fine, provided that in case of appointment of judge other than the Chief Justice, the Chief Justice of India shall be consulted. Fine. So that's why first is not correct, because there is no such procedure mentioned in the Constitution. This statement can confuse us. Second and third are correct. Fine. So one is wrong. Only correct here is 2 and 3. Next is consider the following statements. The term bail has been expressly defined in the Code of Criminal Procedure and also differentiates between bailable and non-bailable offences. Interim bail is given when an anticipatory bail application is pending before the court. Okay. So, the term bail has been expressly defined in the Code of Criminal Procedure, that is CRPC, and also differentiates between bailable and non-bailable offences. Remember, although bail has not been expressly defined in the Indian statutes, the CRPC differentiates between bailable and non-bailable offences. So, first half of the statement is incorrect about the first option, first statement, that is term bail has been expressly defined. No, it has not been defined expressly, but indeed CRPC differentiates between bailable and non-bailable offences. Second is indeed correct that interim bail is given when anticipatory bail application is pending before the court. Interim bail or short term bail you can say, which is given when regular or anticipatory bail application is pending before the court. Fine. So, okay. So, correct option would be B only, that is 2 only, because first is not expressly defined, rather CRPC differentiates. Next is consider the following statements regarding anticipatory bail. So, anticipatory bail can be granted by High Court or Court of Session. It is granted for non-bailable offences for which one anticipates arrest, even if the actual arrest has not happened to or the FIR has not been registered. Before granting anticipatory bail, the court can impose the condition that the person shall not leave India without the previous permission of the court. So, kindly read and try to give the correct answer, try to figure out the correct answer. Okay. So, anticipatory bail can be granted by High Court or Session Court or Court of Session. Bilkul theek hai. It is granted for non-bailable offences, yes, and before granting anticipatory bail, the court can impose certain conditionalities. So, all of the three seems to be correct here. So, 1, 2 and 3, all of the 3 statements are correct. So, correct option is D. Consider the following statement regarding Bar Council of India. Okay, Bar Council of India. The BCI is a statutory body established under the Advocates Act 1961. It regulates the legal practices and legal education in India as per the rules framed by the BCI. Foreign lawyers and law firms are not allowed to participate in India. Okay, so third statement we need to check out. Fine. Whether it's correct or not. First is very much correct. It is a statutory body established under the Advocates Act 1961, and it indeed regulates legal practices and legal education in India also. It gives this affiliation to the universities or colleges, especially in the legal domain, and as per the rules framed by the BCI, foreign lawyers and law firms are not allowed to practice in India. Rather, they are indeed allowed to practice in India. Fine. Bar Council of India has allowed them to practice in India. So, therefore, which one is correct? Of course, 1 is correct, 2 is correct, and it's allowed. So, the third statement is not what is problematic here. So, therefore, only correct answer is 1 and 2, not the 3. In legislative parlance, the term guillotine is used in the context of, okay, guillotine. Passage of non-conference motion, passage of financial business, passage of motion of thanks, or passage of private members bill. Okay, so guillotine. What exactly is the meaning of this? In legislative parlance, guillotine means to bunch together and fast track the passage of financial business. Fine. So it is B. Bunching together and passing all the bills in the financial business matters. The Supreme Court ruling in Lily Thomas versus the Union of India, again it was in news. Lily Thomas versus Union of India case is related to right to fair compensation, transparency in land acquisition, National Judicial Appointment Act, disqualification, of course, disqualification of members of parliament. Fine. Fine. Next is representation of people Act 1951 provides which of the following: conduct of election to the House of Parliament, qualification and disqualification for membership of legislature of each state, and the corrupt practices and other offences in connection with the election to the state legislature. So, RPA 1951 provides for which among the following: Indeed, it provides for conduct of election, qualification and disqualification as well, and the corrupt practices and other offences in connection with the election to the state legislature. So, all of the 3 seems to be correct here. Fine. 1, 2 and 3. All the 3 are correct here. Next is substantive equality adopted by some countries means that. Substantive equality means what? Substantive. Okay. So, it means that providing equal opportunities for both disadvantages and marginalized groups. Substantial equality. It's a fundamental aspect of, remember, human rights laws that is concerned with the equitable outcomes and equal opportunities for disadvantaged and marginalized people and groups in the society. So, correct option would be providing equal opportunities for both disadvantaged and marginalized groups or section of community society. Fine. So, we have done 65 questions today. Fine. And this much was what I could find important from this month of April as far as your current affairs is concerned. So, I will be stopping here for the day. Fine. If you have any query, anything, you can put the same in the comment section. Fine. Until then, take care, keep revising your things. Thank you for joining us. Fine. Stay tuned for the next class. Okay.